So thank you guys again for being here. My name is John Connery with Applied Survey Research. We're all here for the point in time count. So I hope everybody's in the right place. Hopefully by now everybody's had a chance to go ahead and watch the training. If not, I'm going to do a little refresher. I'm going to go over some of the issues that we have seen a lot with the app already. Applied Survey Research has been in the field now for about, this is the last count of 10 days we've been doing the count. So we've got a basic idea of what people have been having their problems with the app. Let's go ahead and start talking about what we're here to do. First off, we're here to count people experiencing homelessness. Probably easy to do on the streets, easy to do in tents, can sometimes be harder in vehicles. The basic categorization that HUD gives us for us to use when using a definition of homelessness is somebody living in a place not meant for human habitation. So that's what you guys want to default to. The idea with this is we have a team, you guys can talk it out amongst yourselves. If you still have questions, we want to err on the side of inclusion when it comes to including them or not. The vehicles can sometimes be the toughest portion of it, like I mentioned. There can be signs that a vehicle is occupied. The condensation on the windows, there's a lot of stuff inside. It looks like there's maybe stuff on the outside of the car, whether that be trash or propane tanks or things like that. All signals that can be given to you that this might be somebody experiencing homelessness. They're not always that easy though, particularly in the case of vehicles. So it can sometimes be worth, taking another pass or what have you to decide if this person is, or this vehicle is being used by somebody experiencing homelessness. There are a lot of people who stay in vehicles and go to neighborhoods and try to stay off the grid as much as you can, and they've got a good system of being able to do that. So again, just use your judgment. Don't think that just because you're in a residential area doesn't mean I'm going to find zero people experiencing homelessness. It can still very much be a thing. It might be a little harder to identify, but it's still there. We are, like I mentioned, keeping to an observational distance during the count, and that does impact how we're able to count cars, RVs, vans, and tents, because we're not knocking on windows, we're not yelling into tents or anything like that. Everything that we gather, data-wise, is all stuff that can be gathered from a distance. So you don't have to worry so much about asking somebody what they're experiencing homelessness or what have you, because you're gathering that from a distance, and that's how you're making those determinations. So please keep that in mind. It's a respect thing first and foremost. I don't think anybody would be all that happy if at 5 o'clock in the morning you guys saw somebody trouncing through your room. So just show that same respect to the people that we are out there counting. On another level, safety is also a part of it as well. We think that this helps people stay safe. So keep that in mind. And also too, if for whatever reason anything does come up that is an emergency, you want to call 911 first and foremost. If it's not an emergency, but still something you want to make sure that you bring to my attention, you can always give me a call or a text message. So we're going to gather all the data that we gather using the observational distance that we were talking about, and then when we do have it, we're going to go ahead and put it into the app. So I hope everybody's had a chance to download the app and then use the app to launch our data collection tool. When you are on the observation tool itself, the first little pieces of information it's going to give you or ask for you are some contact information, so we can follow up with you guys if we have any questions based on the data that comes in, whether that's today or in the next couple days. Kind of just depends when everybody gets back to a normal scenario.
If you go off the map link to make a text, can you go right back to the same number area that you were working on, or do you have to resubmit your information?
No, you can you can leave the area and come back for whatever reason if you need to, and it won't lose the information. It's not like the app is not constrained to be working in just your census tract.
And it will stay on that track that you're on.
Yes, that you won't have to change that information. The only time that changes and then you'll have to re-enter your information up at the top is if you hit the check mark submit button. Once you do that, you'll have to re-enter the contact information at the top. I encourage everybody to do that, and I'm asking you all to do that every time you finish one of your maps. So some people have more than one map. When you finish one of those maps, hit the check mark, it submits it, and then you start over with the new check mark. All your entries, when you guys make them, will be within about 10 feet of where you are standing when you put that entry in. That's what the bullseye symbol does at the very top. If you need to, for whatever reason, move the location manually, you can use the little map symbol right next to the bullseye, and that allows you to move the tag around wherever you need to. Probably won't be necessary for you guys. The target is the best way to use it. The bullseye is the best way to do it because it does it automatically. But let's just say you guys come back here, you forgot to put somebody in, you can then use that map function to go ahead and move the map around. Or if it's just pretty far away, let's say you guys have got that eagle eye vision and you see an encampment a quarter-mile away, you might want to get in there and move that little flag or pin to be a little manually closer. We only report data at the census tract level, so don't feel like you guys are giving up, secret locations here of encampments. We'll only ever be reporting it at the census tract level, so you guys can feel good that it's not going to be used for sweeps or clearing encampments or anything like that. We're just here to gather data. That's all we're doing. It's all anonymous too. You'll see that when we get into the collection of the data, we're really only asking for a few pieces. The location is done automatically. Once you've done that, it asks you guys to input age and gender, and then the dwelling type. Age and gender are all up to your guys' interpretation. There's a couple age ranges, a couple gender types. There's also a final option of unsure. If you guys use unsure, that's perfectly fine. People are bundled up. It's cold in the morning. There's going to be a time when we are not able to make out any identifying details of the people we are including. That's fine. We put that unsure.
Or if they're in a car with the windows.
If you see in the car, that's a good point, because I've been talking about the confirmed scenario so far, when we have the confirmed sightings. We are going to get to situations where we do see vehicles that we believe to be inhabited, but we can't make out the details inside. It's a tent, it's an RV, all the windows are closed up, whatever it is. And let's say it's a car, and you're able to see in the back seat, but you can't make out if that's one person or two people. That's when you would go ahead and use the suspected option at the very top. Confirmed, suspected, this would be a suspected scenario. Tells us that we need to go in on the back end, use the survey data that we have and we'll be gathering down the road, and use that as our multiplier in those situations. But you also brought up a good case, Michael. There may be sometimes when you see a car and you see that there's one person sleeping in the back and you know there isn't anybody else that you're missing. That's when you can do a confirmed situation. You don't have to, just because you see a car, doesn't have to mean it's suspected. There will be plenty of times when you guys see a car, an RV or van, or a tent, and you're able to confirm that there is that one person staying in there. That's when you use the confirm side of things. Suspected is basically, I think there's people in there, but I can't tell the details on how many or anything about their demographics. That's why I'm going to put suspected down. We'll be asking you for 4 digits of the license plate. Again, not for identifying reasons, it's to avoid duplication. You guys won't know who's put locations in or vehicles in. Your job is just to count the people inside your area, so don't worry about that. That's why we have the 4 digits of the license plate that we are collecting. You guys have your maps. If you don't have your maps, make sure that you get them. You're responsible for everything inside the blue line. Everything inside the blue line. The blue line boundary is almost always a street. You're responsible for the inside half of the street. Now, if there's somebody walking around, especially if they're going from one side, you don't have to be too picky about picking out which side of the street there are. But tents, vehicles, things that are stationary, people who are stationary and they're sleeping, only include them if they're on the inside portion of your map. Are we clear on that? Everybody feel good about that?
So you don't mark on the actual blue line itself? I mean, I don't think we would see anybody on some parts of it, but you're saying just the inside?
Just the inside, yeah. It's almost always a street, so you want to do the inside half of the street and not the outside half.
What if they're laying right across the middle of the street?
We should get them out of the street. That would be one time when it's okay to talk to people. When you guys are done, I'm going to ask you guys to all come back here. If you're going to be out past 9:30, please give me a text message or a call. When you guys come back, we'll do just a basic little check-in. I'll ask you how it went. I'll make sure that we got your entries, and then we'll be all set. I do want to make sure everybody knows that the app does cache your data locally. So if you go out of service or what have you, it'll be entered on your phone, and then it'll just send the information when you guys get to a spot that does have service. If you guys are in a census tract that has a lot of people, like I'm talking 75, 80, 100 plus people, it might be worth it at some point in there to hit the check mark to submit inside the middle of your track, just to know that all that data went through. We did have one team whose phone died while they were doing their entries. The phone died, they weren't able to get those entries back, but they had hit the submit button, and so they were saved, you know, all but like 3 or 4 of them. So that's really just if you have a ton of entries and you're really worried about the map, your data being lost for whatever reason. Don't worry too much about the app, I guess, is the final piece on that. The app so far has been working out very well for our teams. There are tech issues. I don't really think it'll happen with this group, but you never say never. Okay, do you guys have any questions for me?
So if you have a park or parks, do you recommend getting out and walking to the middle or something? Or
Yeah.
should, you know,
If you can't see the park, you know, some parks are small enough that you can just drive around it and be fine. But if you see a park, yeah, sometimes it's a good idea to get out and walk around.
One of the things I noticed the last time is some of the smaller parks, in the night time, you can't see what's at the back end of it. So when it gets lighter, sometimes you can go back around some areas and still see additional people that you, or tents or things that you didn't see earlier.
Yes, that's a great point. Part of the reason I haven't been rushing to get us all out is that there is definite benefits to the light coming up. And, you know, I do want to respect everybody's time, of course, but I also know that it's smoother counting when the sun is up or starting to come up. So that should all be helpful for you guys as well. Think about behind buildings as well. We can't go into private property for obvious reasons, so there's long private driveways or private whatevers, you know, we can't go down there. If you do have parks that are bigger parks, it can sometimes be worth trying to talk to a park ranger if you see one of them there. Most of the time they haven't started their shifts or what have you, but just an option as well. All right, well, I know that there are some people who I've already spoken with and I've checked them out. For the people who have not checked out yet, please make sure that you check out with me. This is one person's contact information.